All right, we're set. Let's go.
Cool.
You are interested in the unknown, the mysterious, the unexplainable. That is why you are here.
Welcome back to the Code Rad Show. Today we welcome modern Renaissance man Gray Haas.
How's it
Gray
going?
is working like no one else to bring swanky sounds, felicitous fashions, and groovy graphics to the greater Philadelphia area. Thank you for joining us, Gray.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Happy to be here.
So now we're going to play another introduction to this segment. If you bear with me. All right, here is, I think, a flyer you made for a show at the International Bar some time ago.
Yeah, this is when I was DJing. I spin a lot of Exotica, surf, garage, but I think this flyer was for when I was doing more like of a punk night or something. So
I think the description had something about garage music,
yeah,
punk, that
sounds
sort
right.
of thing. Is there anything interesting going on at the International Bar that you're aware of? I haven't seen them advertising any special nights lately.
Yeah, I mean, there's always great DJs there. My friend Justin Pitney just DJ'd there. It's always just kind of a rotating cast of cool DJs there. So Lisa, my bandmate, DJs there maybe once a month. So yeah, there's always cool stuff happening.
All right, fantastic. I can't wait to hear more about your band. I think we will discuss them a little bit in a bit. And of course, here is one of the biggest surf music institutions in the area, High Tide Recordings. You are associated with them, right?
Yeah, I started doing design for them. I think it was 2020. It was shortly before the pandemic. They
Mm-hmm.
reached out to me. They found me through because my band played a show with the Televisionaries, who are on High Tide, and I did the flyer, and they liked it, so they reached out, and yeah, that kind of started the whole thing. And then the pandemic actually kind of was helpful for me in that, I couldn't leave my house, I couldn't do anything, so they were still putting out records and they were giving me a lot of work, so I, you know, I had no excuse not to do it. So I just banged out a lot of stuff for them, and now it's been just a really great relationship over the past couple of years, and yeah, they're awesome to work for.
Yeah, the pandemic wasn't very good for live events, but
No.
for things like making recordings and records and doing your work from home stuff like graphic designing, it was a suitable, perfect time for that, right?
Yeah, it was great. Yeah.
Great for record sales. And
Yeah. Yep.
let's see. So luckily now we are doing more live shows, and here's a flyer for a show that your band wasn't played at, right?
Yeah, it was two shows with the Gories from Detroit, who were amazing to play with. It was a really cool opportunity to get to meet them and play with them. And yeah, Todd O'Phonic from WFMU set these shows up. So he's always been a big supporter of us, and everything cool. So big thanks to him for making it happen.
Yeah, I've gone to some surf shows at the Underground Arts from time to time. I think I've seen the Primitive Finks play there and Slowy in the Boats.
Yep.
So once in a while, we get some of that action here in Philadelphia.
Yeah, not maybe as much as the West Coast, but I feel like just having High Tide out here, makes those surf bands want to come out here more, at least to the East Coast. So even when around the High Tide Festival, we'll get some shoot off shows here in Philly, which is cool. So
Absolutely. When there was an official like spin-off of the High Tide holiday, where some of the bands like the Messer Chups came to Kung Fu Necktie, that was quite a few years ago. I don't know if there's been an official, High Tide holiday satellite show like that since then. But that was great. The Primitive Finks and the Messer Chups played, and I think there was at least one other band. And
yeah,
so
my band was actually supposed to play with the Messer Chups. I think it was in January at the Khyber, which I was really looking forward to, and then I got COVID, so we had to drop out of that one. But I don't know if any of the shows are official High Tide, sanctioned shows, but I know like the Courettes are playing the High Tide Festival, and they're playing in Philly, and so yeah, there's some stuff coming up.
Yeah, the High Tide Festival draws bands from around the world. The Messer Chups, of course, from Russia, and I think there were 2 bands from Japan the year I went. So it's quite a huge festival.
Yeah, I'm going this year. I'm really excited to see Marcel Bontempi I think he's from Germany, and he doesn't come to the U.S. all that often, so I'm pretty excited to see him.
And he's a surf rocker.
It's I guess more rockabilly. He takes like a lot of old rockabilly or just all kinds of songs, but he kind of has his own. He does his own thing with them, and he makes them all a little spooky. His selection of covers is really cool, and he writes his own songs, and it all kind of has like a little spooky vibe to it. But he's really cool. He does all his own artwork and like makes his own music videos. He does graphic design for other bands. He's super talented. Like in like every aspect of it. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to him.
And what's his name again?
Marcel Bontempi.
That sounds amazing. Sounds right up my alley because let me see. Yeah, let me see if the next slide I have up is the one I thought, which it is. You mentioned he has a spooky edge to his song, and here's a super spooky flyer. This is very cool.
Yeah. I just grew up loving vintage Halloween especially, and I don't know exactly what it was that got me into it. Maybe discovering Satan's Pilgrims in the early 2000s kind of led me down this path of this whole horror surf and garage genre. So I started making these mixes every Halloween, just tracking down all these really weird old records from the 50s and 60s. So, and then I started trying to collect the 45s, which some of them are very hard to find and get pretty pricey, but I've got a nice collection. So every year around Halloween, I try to spin them out and hope that people like it, which they usually seem to. So yeah, that's what this flyer was for. One of those nights.
Yeah, I mean, vintage Halloween is a vibe unlike anything else. There is something special about that. It's captured fantastically in this flyer. Plus, but then when you combine vintage Halloween with vintage Wild West, mind blowing. It's fantastic. Yeah. That sounds like a great show. Did you have you ever heard of a CD collection box set called Halloween Nuggets?
Yeah, I have that.
That is amazing. I think I was in the late lamented I think it was called AKA Music in Philadelphia.
Yep.
Fantastic record store, which ironically closed down just as it seemed like vinyl was getting really big again.
Yeah, I remember
but
that.
It was around in the lean years, and I was in there and they were playing all this incredible vintage Halloween garage rock. And I had to go up and ask the guy what the name of the album was, and he told me. And maybe this helps explain why the place went out of business, because he didn't have any to sell. I wanted to buy it so badly, and he's like, "Well, we're playing it, but we don't have any to sell." So I had to order it off Amazon.
Yeah.
But that is a great collection. I love to play every October.
I remember when that came out, and I had already made a lot of my mixes, and I would track down stuff this was, I mean, it was, I was using the internet, but it was either weird YouTube holes or reading blogs that people would write about these old records. And then I'd made a lot of these mixes already. It had a lot of the same songs. And then that compilation came out, and I was like, well, this would have been a lot easier if this came out. I would have saved me a lot of time if I had this before I did all the digging, but it was
For
fun.
sure. Yeah, I mean, it's not quite as cool as having the original 45s, but it's a lot easier. It's very nice to just slap that on. Let's see what. And so this, I think I grabbed this off of your Instagram account, and I mean, this is here you go for a 45. That is a total vibe.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the best of all time. It's got to be the coolest 45 label ever made. It's just perfect. And the song's amazing, too.
Yeah, I did not have time to hunt that down. I guess that's kind of more like a novelty song, I would guess, than
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah. Yeah, so much of modern art, it kind of, I mean, well, you know more about it than I do. How would you describe this artwork?
I mean, well, the sleeve is actually a modern sleeve. That's
yeah.
I forget the woman's name who makes those, but it obviously fits the art of the label perfectly. But yeah, the label is just, kitschy and bad taste in the best way. So.
Oh yeah, I mean, any kid seeing that would have to possess that.
Yeah,
see that in the record store. It's amazing.
You just imagine Lux Interior, getting really excited when he found that, probably.
No doubt, yeah. Yeah, I mean, I feel like a lot of modern art is kind of alienating to your average person. It's more of an academic sort of exercise, but I mean, something like this just speaks to me so much. It's beautiful.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I feel like is missing a lot these days. Is just fun. Things take themselves too seriously now, whereas back in the 50s and 60s, so much was so tongue in cheek and just had this great sense of humor. And I try to bring that back in some of my artwork, and because that's the stuff that I love and I know you love, and I just think we need more of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of Derek Yaniger. I think he captures the essence of that perfectly.
It's also just the anti-computer kind of stuff, and I do work on a computer, but it's easy to make everything perfect, and I kind of like all the little imperfections.
For sure. I mean, artists will always use whatever technology is most appropriate for what they're trying to produce and what makes their job easier. And I think even when you're going for a retro vintage look, I'm sure a lot of artists use modern technology to get that old-fashioned style, right?
Yeah. Go ahead.
So here would be an old-fashioned album cover. I thought maybe talk a little bit about the spooky Halloween vibe and slide over a little bit to the sci-fi vibe of even though I think of Exotica being a part of Tiki. Of course, there's all kinds of stuff that and stuff that probably the people making it did not think of it as Exotica. I like to think of it as Exotica, or at least something that is very good to listen to while you're having a cocktail.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I love all that stuff. I collect Exotica records too, so I don't have that one though.
Yeah. I remember I saw Jeff Berry, the Beach Bum, giving a symposium probably at the Hukilau a bunch of years ago, and he was talking about the origin of the neo tiki revival, where he and Otto and those other pioneers of the neo tiki movement were hanging out and doing the research, trying to find out whatever they could about tiki culture and trying to rediscover the drinks, try to reverse engineer the drinks. And one of the comments he made that really stuck with me is that they'd be listening to Ennio Morricone while they were doing all this, which sort of that was that made an impression on me. The fact that it's like, yeah, that spaghetti Western music, that could be Exotica.
Yeah, totally.
Or say old Star Trek soundtracks from the original TV show.
Yeah.
What could be a better accompaniment to a cocktail party than something like that?
Yeah, it's perfect. I just love, the imagery it all conjures up of, putting on your best suit and going to the exotic tiki bar and hearing these strange sounds while you're drinking some weird cocktails. It sounds perfect.
Yeah, a sense of danger and adventure, of course, is a big part of tiki cocktail culture, and so any sort of anything that evokes those emotions, I think works for me. This is something I thought I would throw out there because obviously it's connected with the science fiction aspect of it. This came out in the 90s, and I think it came out actually in 99 when Star Wars hysteria was really peaking. It was Star Wars was just everywhere. And this band called the Evil Genius Orchestra, I think, came out with this. I don't remember how I saw this. I think one of my earliest internet purchases, but they did a whole jazzy lounge version of the Star Wars soundtracks, which and what's interesting about it is that you can find information about this on the internet, but there's not that much there. This CD has been kind of lost to time, and you can tell the graphics are nothing that amazing.
I don't know this one. I've never seen it before.
I just thought it would be interesting to bring up because it's that whole vibe. It's all the great John Williams music done in a lounge style, and it is out there to be found, but it also has been been forgotten by time. So
I'll have to look for that.
I
remember maybe a little younger, but so I was young in the late 90s when all this was happening, but my dad was, pretty hip and into a lot of this stuff. So I kind of was aware of it, happening then. And I remember the swing revival and all that kind of stuff. And
sure.
Played a part in influencing why I'm into all this now. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I mean, Cherry Poppin' Daddies, Big Bad Voodoo Daddy. That was really fun when those guys came up and they'd be on tour. I lived in Albuquerque, New Mexico at the time. And I remember there was this super cool store in the neighborhood called I can't believe I'm blanking on it, but this guy got in the Beach Bum Berry grog log, and I had been aware of tiki culture and everything. I think he had gotten in Otto von Stroheim's Tiki Digest. I started picking up this stuff just instinctively, and it just became a huge interest, a huge hobby of mine for decades now.
Yeah, I got into it, early. For me, I was in high school when I was getting into all this stuff. I think it was around when the Book of Tiki was published, and I don't know. I remember seeing the Brady Bunch episode where they went to Hawaii, and it was just like, oh, what is all this stuff? And then I think the great thing about all of Sven's books that he published that I kind of recently realized is just like how cheap they were back then. Like it was really easy to access them because I remember finding the Book of Tiki and I probably paid $15 or $20 for it, and like it just that's kind of opened up the whole world and all. The books are amazing, but just like I guess because Taschen published them, and they're huge publishers, they're able to keep their prices down. So that was just for me, that was a big part of getting into it, was just having access to all this really cool information for, you know, very little money.
Yeah, I think I bought the Book of Tiki at Ohana from a vendor a few years ago. It was dinged, so I got a bargain on it, but it was still a lot more than $20. It was very expensive. But
I'm using Tiki Modern to prop up my phone right now, and then I have
yeah,
Tiki Pop is what my phone is leaning against. So,
right, yeah,
but like when those books came out, even like Tiki Modern, I think I bought brand new was like $40 or something. So it was like, you know, it was just cool to discover all this stuff.
sure. When Sven came out with one of those books a few years ago, I didn't feel like there was a rush to get it, even though I wanted it. And then when I went to buy it, it was out of print already and selling for
Yeah,
an exorbitant amount.
yeah.
Um,
Yeah, I'm
yeah.
glad I got the books when I did, because yeah, they're kind of crazy.
Mhm. As a graphic designer, uh, do you have any thoughts about Beach Bum Berry's production of the Grog Log? Because I mean, apparently, you know, he he made photocopies of old Chinese menus and used an X-Acto knife to cut out the words. It's a a relic of a forgotten age. It's amazing that that book is amazing on so many levels. The idea of
I don't have a
rediscovering,
I don't
yeah,
have a
it's
copy, so I gotta get one. I haven't seen like the book in the interior.
oh, it's really neat. He took a lot of clip art from various sources, use an X-Acto knife, cut things apart.
Yeah,
So like the book is amazing on so many levels because there is that actual production of it, which I just love the idea of him. And I think his wife, collaborated on this, putting the art together, getting those wonderful fonts and the artwork and everything to make into this workable, um, you know, uh, cocktail book with all the recipes. But then also there's that whole thing of that whole process of rediscovering these old
yeah,
recipes. I mean, when you stop to think about that, the effort it must have taken to find these secret recipes, the idea of rediscovering a taste, that's
yeah,
crazy. And
yeah. It's really cool. Yeah, it's
uh,
really awesome to be able to have access to that stuff too. Yeah, the work he put in is just amazing. Yeah,
so I thought I would share this. This is just a band I discovered that they're from Orange County, New York. I just thought it was a super cool CD cover, and they're great. And so it it's cool how there are these bands around. They're as you can see, they have that whole Halloween aesthetic,
yeah.
drive-in, spooky surf music, which is super cool. Um, and so just something I thought anyone who happens to watch this video might be interested in, because I love this. They have a great vibe. And I saw on their Instagram today, this is going on this Saturday. So a little surf rock festival in Orange County, New York at the Rushing Duck Brewery. I
Very
don't
cool.
know if I want to make that 3-hour drive up there, but it would be cool if I could. So 71 Super Creep and these other bands I haven't heard of. Sounds like a fun time. It's for
I
some
think,
sort of
yeah, the Jagaloons, I think they might be on High Tide. I'm not sure. I definitely know
yeah,
that name.
yeah. I think I've heard of them, but yeah, it's sure to be a good time.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's a little distant for us. I used to live up in that area, so I go once in a while. And the most important slide to finish us up, our newest tiki event we're going to have in the Philadelphia area. A region that is known for being a tiki desert. But
Yeah.
thank you for bringing this event, or at least participating in this event. Can you tell us about the Ortlieb's Tiki Tuesday?
Yeah, Kyle. I mean, I know Kyle who runs Ortlieb's. I've known him forever.
Okay.
Just bands and playing there, DJing there, whatever. But yeah, he just reached out to me a couple weeks ago and just said, "Hey, I want to get this Tiki night started. Would you be interested in, just DJing it?" Was I think the first thing he asked, and I was like, "Yeah, of course I want to DJ that." And then he said, "Oh, can you make a flyer?" Of course. So yeah, so they're gonna do tiki drinks. I know I was helping him a little bit with drinks. I definitely suggested the 44 Mai Tai, which I think it's going to be pretty close. I won't say it'll be exactly a 44 Mai Tai, but I think it'll taste pretty good. And then there's some other cocktails on the menu that sound good. There's a Blue Hawaii, and I forget what else, but yeah. So it's going to be rotating DJs. I think I want to ask Halsey from Primitive Finks if he wants to help out DJing, and maybe Jeremy Greitz. I know those guys both have great Exotica collections. So yeah, right now the plan is that I'm gonna do once a month DJing. So yeah, we'll see. The first one is this coming Wednesday, which I'm not able to DJ, but sorry, Tuesday, of course. But yeah, the following Tuesday, which is I believe the 18th, I'll be DJing.
Fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. What sort of vibe are you going for? I mean, do people dance to Exotica at all? Are we going more of like just a cocktail party vibe?
I think I'm gonna mix it like surf and Exotica is the plan. Because if you do straight Exotica, I mean, I would love that, and I know you would love that, but some people I think might want to go to sleep with that. So I'll probably bring some like a little more upbeat surf and stuff that still kind of fits the vibe, but it's a little more rockin' and upbeat. But definitely some Exotica. I don't know. I haven't picked out my records yet, but I'm hoping maybe half and half Exotica and surf and whatever else falls into those categories.
Yeah, sounds fantastic. I've some of my best live music experiences have been Exotica bands who there are not a lot out there. Tiki Yaki Orchestra, I would say, was one of the big ones. There are great bands I've seen once and then I like never heard of them again. Do you know about any Exotica bands in the area, or any ones that ever come through here?
No, not really. I mean, slowing the boats, I guess, are all we really have. It's a little more just
Yeah.
quiet. I've actually still never even seen them. I know they play Longwood Gardens. I don't have a car, so it's a little hard to get to the places that they play. So I've still yet to see them. But the band I would love to see the most is the Manicuras. Their record that came out on High Tide was like, it's my favorite thing that High Tide's ever put out, and it's just a really awesome blend of like surf and Exotica. And I hope that I get to see them one day because I think they'd be really cool live. But the record's amazing.
Yeah. That sounds really cool. I got a cool CD a few years ago. I went to Ohana, and I think the theme of the CD, I think the name of it was Songs to Shake Cocktails To. I think it was surf bands playing classic Exotica music.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, that's a great one for driving or just putting on while you're doing work or something.
Yeah, that sounds like my alley for sure.
And we looked briefly at your at one of your flyers, but the name of your band is the Outset, right?
Yeah, the
And
Outset.
will you tell us a little bit about them and if you've got any gigs coming up?
Yeah, we've been playing. We started in 2019, so we were just getting, good momentum going, and then the pandemic happened. But it was fine. We got through it, and yeah, we've just been working hard, playing a lot. We got to play some really cool shows. Like we played with the Gories, like you showed the flyer. We also did 2 shows with the Mummies, which was incredible. They've been one of my favorite bands since high school.
Wild, yeah, they're fantastic.
Yeah, it was really, really cool playing with them. But we play a lot of other cool shows in the area. Just trying to again, you know, Philly's kind of a garage rock desert too, so trying to bring some of that to the area. You know, we're all big fans of that. Grew up listening to Nuggets and Back from the Grave and all that. So stuff we're really you know, excited by and want to kind of bring to the people. But yeah, we just recorded an album like a month ago, so we're in the process of mixing that. I'm not sure when it's going to come out. Probably early next year would be my guess. So
yeah. Fantastic. And that wouldn't be through High Tide Records, would it?
No, we release our stuff. We put out an EP a few years ago on this label called Outro Records. They're based in LA, and they kind of specialize in garage rock, like pretty straightforward, traditional garage rock. And Steve, who runs it, is awesome. He's really excited about our band, which is really cool. And he's just putting out really great records. So yeah, we feel right at home there. And I will say that he's also very much into vintage Halloween. He's done 2 comps so far of new bands doing kind of vintage inspired Halloween songs. The Outsect, we did one last year. It's like spooky instrumental. So those are really great and worth looking out for. And I just did a cover for another Halloween project that's coming out this year on Outro. So yeah, really great record label. If anyone watching this is not following Outro, definitely give them a follow and check out what they're doing.
Absolutely. I am going to look into it right now. That sounds like a few CDs I'd like to have, or records or vinyl. Yeah. But that was great. Thank you so much, Gray. I really enjoyed this talk.
Yeah, same here.
All right. Thanks for coming on. And so I guess that concludes the Code RAD broadcast day. Thanks, everyone.